जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So reading from Bhagavatam 3:27-27. Yadaivam adhyatmarataha. 3:27-27. Yadaivam adhyatmarata. Kalena bahujanmana. Sarvatra jata vairagya. Abrahma bhuvanan muni. Yadaivam adhyatmarata. Kalena bahujanmana. Sarvatra jata vairagya. Abrahma bhuvanan muni. Yadaivam atma.
Kalena bahu janmana sarvatra jata vairagya bhuvanani. Yadaivam adhyatmaratha.
Yadaivam adhyatmamrataha.
Kalena bahu janmana
Kalena bahujanmana.
sarvatra jata vairagya
Sarvatra jata vairagya.
Brahma bhuvanani.
Abrahma bhuvanan muni.
Kalena bahujanmana
Kalena bahu janmana
sarvatra jata vairagya
sarvatra jata vairagya Brahma bhuvanani.
Okay, word to word. Yada, when, evam, thus, adhyatmarataha, engage in self-realization, kalena, for many years, bahujanmana, for many births, sarvatra, everywhere, jata vairagya, detachment is born, abrahma bhuvanat, up to Brahmaloka, muni, a thoughtful person. Translation: when a person thus engages in devotional service and self-realization for many years and births, he becomes completely reluctant to enjoy any one of the material planets. Even up to the highest planet, it is known as Brahmaloka, he becomes fully developed in consciousness. Purport: by his divine grace, Abhay Charnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Anyone engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as a devotee, but there is a distinction between pure devotees and mixed devotee. A mixed devotee engages in devotional service for the spiritual benefit of being eternally engaged in the transcendental abode of the Lord in full bliss and knowledge. Interesting statement, right? In material existence, when a devotee is not completely purified, he expects material benefit from the Lord, the form of relief from material miseries, or he wants material gain, advancement in knowledge of the relationship between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity, or knowledge as to the real nature of the Supreme Lord. When a person is transcendental to these conditions, he is called a pure devotee. He does not engage himself in the service of the Lord for any material benefit or for understanding of the Supreme Lord. His one interest is that he loves the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he spontaneously engages in satisfying him. The highest example of pure devotional service is that of the gopis in Vrindavan. They are not interested in understanding Krishna, but only in loving him. That platform of love is a pure state of devotional service. Unless one is advanced to this pure state of devotional service, there is a tendency to desire elevation to a higher material position. A mixed devotee may desire to enjoy a comfortable life on another planet with a greater span of life, such as on Brahmaloka. These are material desires, but because a mixed devotee engages in the service of the Lord, ultimately, after many, many lives of in material enjoyment, he undoubtedly develops Krishna consciousness. And the symptom of this Krishna consciousness is that he is no longer interested in any sort of materially elevated life. He does not even aspire to become a personality like Lord Brahma. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kata Mahim Dati Swapanantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sagar Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagaran Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitabhasya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namustate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabharasri Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasti Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate girip. Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Taranam Paramanandamanam Shri Jasnishwar. So I have no qualification to speak anything on Srimad Bhagavatam. Not qualified and I shouldn't be speaking in front of all of you. But although not qualified, but hopefully by speaking Bhagavatam, I will please Srimad Bhagavatam and I will please Radha, Gopijana Vallabh, and I will serve all of you, and in that way I can get your mercy. So I depend on all of your mercy and your qualification. It's like there's this saying in the His Grace Paripashad Prabhu mentioned that on a particular day, if the speaker doesn't turn up, it's okay. Another person can speak. But if nobody, of course, Bhaksani Thakur said we can teach the four walls. But he said if nobody is there to listen, then there will be no class. So the thing is that the real glory is that all of you, you are so sincere and serious, and you're tolerating such a disgusting person like me. So that's your greatness. So this is a very wonderful, all of you actually, and online also my humble obeisances to everyone. So this is actually, when I first read this verse, I became quite a little afraid actually. Because it says many birds, many years and many birds. So Srila Rupa Goswami says that bhakti takes a long time. Advancement in bhakti takes a long time. And the reason is that bhakti is a very subtle process, a very sensitive process. It's a relationship. It's not a process. Actually, it's a relationship. And in this material world, the relationship between two people, it happens very quickly. But because that relationship is on the platform of the body and the mind, it's not actually real. It's not actually real. And that's why we don't derive real pleasure from that relationship. Like even so-called family life. I mean, I'm sorry, I also have mother and father, so I'm not anything different from all of you. But even so-called family life, quote unquote family life, like relationship between two family members is mainly based on the body and the mind. It's not based on the soul. So until one actually realizes the importance of a relationship on the soul platform, he will not practice bhakti with intensity. Tivrena bhakti yogena yajitam purusham param. So what does it mean to realize that we are spirit soul? What does it really mean? It means, Srila Prabhupada says, really, really amazing. When one becomes intimately related to a pure devotee of the Lord, then by that mercy of that pure devotee, he understands what it means to have a relationship with Krishna. This is called Bhav Abhas. Like sometimes it happens, right? When we hear from pure devotees, when we hear from Srila Prabhupada, sometimes we feel something in our heart. So that is called Bhav Abhas. Abhas means it's a reflection, is a some kind of reflection. So whatever they feel for Krishna, or whatever Krishna feels for them, when it becomes reflected in our heart to whatever degree, to a small or big degree, so we feel something. So that is a we beginning of a soul desiring to have a relationship with the Supreme Lord. So the first paragraph is very interesting. Prabhupada says a mixed devotee is someone who engages in devotional service for the spiritual benefit of being eternally engaged in the transcendental abode of the Lord in full bliss and knowledge. So Prabhupada is saying basically a mixed devotee is someone who wants to go back to Godhead for the purpose of relieving suffering. Like, oh, I want to become free from my misery, so I want to go back to Godhead. So there's nothing wrong with that desire. But at the same time, why do we want to go back to Godhead? That's very important. So in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Shikshashtakam, it is mentioned, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmani shari bhavatat bhaktir ahitukitoi. So here Mahaprabhu is saying, I want to serve you life after life. And in one sense, there's nothing wrong with this, because in the spiritual world, we're going to serve for eternity. So this word life after life, it makes perfect sense. But the point here is seva bhav. So the mood of this verse is we have to cultivate service attitude. So service attitude is very, very nourishing, is very powerful, and is very self-satisfying. Even if we don't get reciprocation from Krishna directly, but just doing the service can give us so much happiness. Right? It can, that is the benefit of doing devotion, genuine devotional service, is that gratitude springs automatically from the heart, because at every point in Krishna consciousness, there is some revelation, there is something. Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopi Jana Vallabh Tapatman Gaure Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So at every point in devotional service, there is some reciprocation, or you can see something, but all that it requires is some gratitude in the heart. So when we become grateful for what we have, understanding that we are not qualified, then we see something in bhakti. We see something. We have some perception. So seva, at every point in the seva, we experience something in our spiritual life. So in that way, seva itself is the ultimate attainment. See, our goal is seva. This is a very important point. Our goal is service. Mother Yashoda is a very important point in Bhagavatam. Mother Yashoda, when she left Krishna, why she left Krishna and why she went to take care of the milk on the stove. Why? Because service is the most important thing. Because she knew that this milk that I'm going to give Krishna will not be available later. It's a very special kind of milk. These cows give milk once in a while, and this sweet or this milk preparation made from this milk will give Krishna a very special kind of happiness. So I want to give Krishna that special kind of happiness. So that's why Mother Yashoda attended to that. So we can say, as devotees, we can leave Krishna, we can leave Krishna's association, but we cannot leave Krishna's service. Why? Because that's the most important principle. The most important principle is to serve Krishna. You see in the spiritual world, or you see in this material world, what is the most attractive? Service is attractive. You spend time with someone physically, how much they'll be pleased with you, how much they will like you. Okay, they will, they will be nice to you, they will be appreciative, of course. But if you do something for them, then they'll be sold out to you. So service is the key. Service is the secret to pleasing anyone. What to speak of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the more and more that service is withdrawn, like for example, you have a son, Ragnar Govind Prabhu, for example. So your son does something for you. Okay, that's wonderful. Suppose your son has a friend and that person has a friend, that person has a friend. So distant related, he does something for you. How attractive it is to you, right? Because he's so far away from you, quote unquote. So same way, the more and more we become this, we serve Krishna as a position of the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant, it becomes more and more and more attractive to Krishna, more and more attractive to Srimati Radharani. So, Seva Bhav, we have to cultivate this service mood. More and more, we have to cultivate this service mood. So, by engaging in devotional service without any desire. So, these two things are very important. Ahaituki apratihata. Ahituki means without any motivation and constantly. So if we do both these things, then and only then what happens? Suprasidati. Only then the soul actually becomes satisfied. And basically the soul becoming satisfied means that the soul develops its identity. Shri Radha, Gopi Jana Vallabh, Taipatun Gaurhe Guru Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So the soul develops its identity. When we come across the Supreme Lord, and basically the soul, the more and more the soul develops its identity, the more and more our relationship with Krishna becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. So, this famous example is there in Srimad Bhagavatam, that how Krishna told the gopis to be satisfied with their service, with their service. So it's a very, very important instruction that service gives us the greatest satisfaction. When we do something to please Krishna, that gives us the greatest satisfaction. Even more satisfaction we get by pleasing someone who is very dear to the Lord. In Nectar of Instruction, it is said, Bhajana Vigya. So someone who is Bhajana Vigya. Vigya is very important word. Vigya means someone who is expert, someone who is realized by performing devotional service. And again, bhajan is also described by Rupa Goswami, defined by Rupa Goswami as seva. So seva is a real attainment. And when we focus on our service and we do our service with the correct mood, then we get transcendental happiness, we get pleasure, we get, our soul becomes satisfied. So that's a very important point. So that's the difference between the pure devotional conception and mixed devotional conception. Pure devotional conception is, I only want to serve Krishna. I don't want anything from Krishna, or I don't even want anything from Krishna's devotees. But the only thing I want is I want to serve. That is a pure devotional conception. Mixed conception is, I want some happiness. Like even in this world also, if you practice this with any person, you see how much you become peaceful. You become peaceful. And you forget the idea of being the enjoyer. So there's a very, very important principle Prabhupada is speaking about in the first paragraph. And then Prabhupada is speaking about the gopis. So in the last line of the first paragraph, Prabhupada is saying that his one interest is that he loves the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he spontaneously engages in satisfying him. So here Prabhupada is saying that serving Krishna is a side effect or is a result of having spontaneous love for the Lord. So, how can we cultivate this spontaneous attraction to the Lord? What can we do? That is a real question. Because the ultimate goal of our life is to attain spontaneous attraction for Krishna. And spontaneous attraction for Krishna does not mean prema. No, it means a stage of ruchi. Ruchi, Prabhupada says, is the stage where we have taste. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says we have taste for pure devotional practices like chanting the holy name, serving the Lord in his form of the deity, serving the devotees, reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So when we have spontaneous taste for these things, that is called ruchi. And Prabhupada says very strongly in one lecture that if we are not developing this ruchi, then shrama eva hi kevalam. All our activities are completely useless. Completely useless. So we have to be very, very careful about this. Like we may be a devotee, maybe wearing tilak, maybe whatever, but are we developing some spontaneous attraction or not? That is a real question. That is a real question. Like, okay, we are chanting the holy name, we are serving the deities, but when we are not serving the deities, how much we're thinking about them, how much we're thinking for their pleasure. This is very important, very important. So Rupa Goswami says there are 6 things which are very important. We all know that. Utsaha Nishchaya Dharya Tattat Karma Pravartanat Sangat Tyagat Sato Vritti Shadbir Bhakti Prasiddhyati. So 6 principles favorable. First is being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to the regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, abandoning the association of non-devotees and following in the footsteps of the previous Acharya. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. So, so the most important of all these 6 is what? Is following the footsteps of the previous Acharya. This is the most important. If you focus on this one point, very, very carefully focus, you will definitely attain perfection. You will definitely attain perfection. So, how do we follow this? Yeah, we have to read their mood. Their mood is expressed in the Vaishnav Acharya songs. So we have to study them. We have to study. That's why Prabhupada painstakingly recorded so many bhajans, and Prabhupada gave purport to so many bhajans also. So now first let's look at what is stopping us from developing this spontaneous attraction. My one of pure devotees of the Lord, he mentioned that the moment we become attached to something other than Krishna, we think our conception is, I mean, I'm speaking about what he says. So our normal conception is I'll become attached to something else and I'll become attached to Krishna also. Like that's the normal material conception, right? Like, for example, the relationship between a father and a son does not affect like from the father's perspective, does not affect his relationship with his daughter. It doesn't affect. But spiritually, when we become attached to something material, then we are detaching ourselves away from Krishna. Just like a simple example that while eating, if you keep drinking water, what happens? Your hunger becomes dampened, so you cannot eat. So same way, when you satisfy yourself with material happiness, then you don't realize how much you're starving for spiritual happiness. You don't realize it. You don't even notice it. So for you to notice, we have to starve ourselves of material happiness. So what is the most common kind of material happiness that we derive? Where does it all stem from? It stems from the conception of pious activities. When we become attached to pious activities, then as a result of pious activities, we get material happiness in the mode of goodness. Okay, I'm a very dharmic person. I'm a very good whatever, I'm a very good brahmachari, I follow the rules of brahmacharya very nicely. I'm a very good whatever, mother, father, etc., etc. And then the problem with this is that we don't realize how much we are starving for Krishna. We don't realize it. And therefore, we cannot take shelter. Because to take shelter, Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, Shivir. These four things are an obstacle to taking shelter of Krishna. Janma, being attached to our birth, whatever birth, oh, I am Brahmana, I am this, I am that. Shruta, Janma, Aishwarya. Aishwarya means wealth. I have a lot of wealth. Shruta means I'm very learned. I'm a big scholar. I know all the books. And Shibir, I am very, very beautiful, very attractive. So when we try to cultivate attachment, like we have to be very careful in pursuing any of these things, then tam akinchana gochara. We cannot become akinchana and we cannot approach Krishna. We cannot, from the core of the heart, we cannot offer prayer to Krishna. We can say from lips, but from the core of the heart, it will not come. Why? Because we already have some material shelter. So these four things are an obstacle. So you have to be very careful. And two main things are there generally we face. So one is basically lust. Lust means the mind becomes agitated with the desire to enjoy. So what is the solution to lust? Raghunath Das Goswami says, to loudly call out the names of Krishna's pure devotees. When the more and more become attached to Krishna's pure devotees and we call out to them with great love and feeling, then they will come and free us from this tendency to enjoy. Second thing, which is as dangerous or more dangerous, is fame, the desire for fame. So Raghunath Das Goswami says the solution to fame is that we continuously serve the spiritual master or the mission of the spiritual master. So, see, one thing is very important in relation with Guru. Everyone should meditate on this. Yesterday, I was reading His Holiness Gaur Govinda Maharaj was speaking that if we don't desire to get a personal instruction from a spiritual master, then we are already cheated. Of course, personal instruction need not be that he has to personally come and tell us, but basically our commitment to him, our dedication to him. Because what happens when you get a personal inspiration or instruction from a spiritual master through authorities, through devotees, you become bound. You don't have a freedom. You are bound. You have to do this thing. So unless you are bound in that way, you cannot practice pure devotional service. Right? So, like for example, if I think to myself, why do I need to wake up the deities? Anyone else can do. And I can do that. I can call other devotees to do. They are very eager to do. But what will happen as a result of me not doing Mangalarti? I will become loose. I will think that I don't need to do it. And as a result of that, what will be Krishna's reciprocation? Krishna will also deal with me in that way. Oh, this person is not that serious. He is not that serious. He does not think in his mind that he is responsible to provide me happiness. In his heart, he does not have that feeling. See, that feeling is the most important feeling in the heart of a devotee. You can do whatever service, that's okay. But how much in your heart do you feel that you are responsible to give Krishna pleasure through that service? That is the most important thing. You can be dressing and be cooking, but in your heart, the desire is not burning when you're cooking. Oh, how can I cook in the best possible way? How can I dress in the best possible way? Will Krishna be pleased or not? If we're not thinking that, if we're not feeling that, that means we're not actually serving. We're just doing something mechanical, just like the example is given. Like you're cooking for someone. Before you cook for someone, what should be the first question? You should ask them what they like to eat. Not that you just cook whatever you like and just put in front of them and swaha, No, that's not the thing. So that is not a real seva. Real seva means following the footsteps of previous devotees and previous acharyas and anushi and krishnanushilanam, desiring the pleasure of Krishna. So anyway, so these two things Raghunath Goswami says from Manashiksha, that call out the name of pure devotees and continuously serve the spiritual master. Continuously serve. So spiritual master will kick out that, he says, that dancing, Raghunath Goswami says, prostitute who wants fame. So only by Guru's mercy. And how do we get Guru's mercy? How do we get Guru's grace? When we serve Guru. How will we serve Guru? When we become dedicated. When we become dedicated to fulfill the mission of the spiritual master, we get an instruction from spiritual master or associates of spiritual master, only then can we continuously serve. And then when this fame is kicked out, when this lust is, at least to some extent, it is dampened, then we can experience the bliss of Krishna consciousness. So the most important principle in bhakti is serving devotees. That's the most important thing. That's the most important principle. That's why Mahaprabhu also says, Vaishnav Seva, Nam Ruchi, Jivadoya. So the root of everything is Vaishnav. Why is Vaishnav Seva so important? It is super important because without Vaishnav Seva, without serving devotees, it will take a very long time for us to come to the platform of Shuddhanam. It will take a very long time. So actually, our principle in Krishna consciousness is actually mercy. That is a real principle. So the more and more we serve devotees, we please devotees, only then will we get the purity and the inspiration to chant the holy name without offense. So that's why we have to be very much attached to serving devotees. Like the best example is Raghunath Goswami. So Raghunath Goswami arranged a huge festival where he invited many Vaishnavas, many exalted Vaishnavas, and fed everyone. He satisfied everyone. And as a result of that, he got that kind of blessing that he became a very intimate servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we have to grasp this point. How much are we serving devotees? How much do we have a desire to serve devotees, to please devotees? This is very, very important. And for us, it is very important for us to understand that our process in ISKCON, we are followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We are not Babajis in Vrindavan. No, we are not. So the real mercy, the way we will enter Vrindavan, the real way by which we will develop spontaneous desire to serve the Lord is by serving the mission of Lord Chaitanya. So this is one song, Gaurangera Dutipada, that's a very important song. I think everyone should study this song very deeply. Prabhupada also has written purports on it. It's a very important song. So there are some secrets in this song which everyone should observe. So the first thing is, Narottam Das Thakur is saying, if one is captivated by the pleasing pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, the dirty things in his heart will become cleansed. So the first thing is, if we want a heart to become cleansed, we should be captivated by the pleasing pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. That's the first secret. The next secret, he says, one who simply takes the name of Gaur Sundar, he will immediately develop love of God. Second. Third, if one appreciates the merciful pastimes, of Lord Chaitanya and feels ecstasy and sometimes cries, this process will immediately help him to understand the eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So Radha and Krishna's pastimes is something which has to be revealed in the heart. It is not something that, there's nothing wrong in hearing, But to cultivate attraction, we need mercy. So how will we cultivate attraction? When we appreciate the merciful pastime of Lord Chaitanya. When we think, oh, how Lord Chaitanya is so ecstatically dancing, how Mahaprabhu is dancing in front of Lord Jagannath, how Mahaprabhu is reciprocating with Maharaj Pratap Rudra, how Mahaprabhu is reciprocating with Raghunath Das Goswami. So when we meditate on this, we have to meditate. We have to meditate on the feeling. We have to meditate on the reciprocation. That will help us to understand the eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Then the next secret, simply by understanding that the associates of Mahaprabhu are eternally free from material contamination, one can immediately be promoted to the transcendental abode of Lord Krishna. And if you want to live in Vrindavan, everyone wants to live in Vrindavan, what is the process? You understand that Navadvip is non-different from Vrindavan, then you live in Vrindavan. Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, in the age of Kali, Mayapur Navadvip becomes more and more open, and Vrindavan becomes more and more covered. This is the last punchline of this song. If one says, let me dive deep into the waves of the nectarian ocean of the transcendental loving movement introduced by Lord Chaitanya, he immediately becomes one of the confidential devotees of Radha and Krishna. So if you have this desire that I want to dive deep into the waves of the nectarian ocean of the transcendental loving movement introduced by Mahaprabhu, then he immediately becomes one of the confidential devotees of Radha and Krishna. And if we follow this song, we take the song very seriously to our heart, then definitely in this life, we can attain perfection. Definitely. We can attain perfection. We can attain, I mean, this is, of course, who am I to say this? I am repeating the words of pure devotees. So, there is great hope for us if we simply follow in the footsteps of pure devotees. We have to be very carefully following their footsteps, very carefully. If we become independent, we do whatever we want. We don't put ourselves under the guidance of a devotee, then it will take a very long time for us to attain advancement in bhakti. So we should not be independent. Sometimes this tendency is there after many years, some years of bhakti, we think that we are independent now. Now I know how to chant, now I know how to serve, so I don't need any guidance. No, we should never think like that. Because the more and more we advance in bhakti, the more and more we need guidance. And I'm not talking about just guidance externally, do this service. No, we need internal guidance, how to mature our mood. See, the goal of life is to think of Krishna. But the thing is, how you think of Krishna makes a difference. How you think of Krishna. So for that, we need a lot of guidance. We need a lot of inspiration. So we need constant inspiration, constant guidance. And it's not a question of just mitigating our material distress. Actually, if we just adopt this mood that I want to mitigate my spiritual distress, not my material distress. Material distress will come and go. But if we focus on mitigating our spiritual distress, what is our spiritual distress? We don't know how to pray. We don't know how to chant. We don't know how to serve. We may know how to serve physically, but we don't know the mood. So if we constantly focus on the mood, then we will get a lot of benefit. We'll get a lot of benefit in bhakti. And that's what bhakti is. Bhakti is mood, bhakti is feeling. We know this. So I would like to end here. Anyone has any question or comment? Online, anyone has any question or comment?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Prabhupada. This is Pimpali Devidasi. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. Prabhu, you started the class and you ended this class right through the focus, and the highlight was the mood, the service, and then you ended the mode of service is important. So I was just thinking sometimes, yes, physically doing service like cooking or like offering like physical service is easier. But I want to understand the challenge that I go through is how to cultivate and see that cooperating, is also a service and develop that mood. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So see, the thing is that uh, it is can't be artificial. Cooperation cannot be artificial. So of course, one level of cooperation is, of course, as a servant of ISKCON, servant of Prabhupada, we are trying to come together to please Prabhupada. That's all right. And that's very important for us to cultivate. But at the same time, a deeper level of cooperation will come when we appreciate a devotee's mood. So when we appreciate a devotee's love for Krishna, what type of love for Krishna? When we deeply appreciate, and again, when we see a devotee, we think, oh, this devotee, his mood is reminds me of the cowherd boy. So he gives that kind of pleasure to Krishna. For example, this for example. So we appreciate his mood, and then we cooperate because we want to help him to please Krishna in the way that he wants to please Krishna. So that's a real cooperation. Like in the spiritual world, different devotees are serving Krishna in different ways. So there is cooperation. There is no fight between, Mother Yashoda and, the cowherd boys. Their mood is completely different. Completely different. Mother Yashoda, the way she deals with Krishna and the way Balram deals with Krishna is completely different. But there's no problem. Why? Because each understands the other's mood. So when we understand another devotee's mood, his loving devotion towards Krishna, there are two things. One is the devotee's mood in the service of Lord Chaitanya as an associate of Lord Chaitanya, and also a devotee's mood in the pastimes of Krishna. So when we get some understanding of this, and this can't be artificially cultivated, but when we actually feel this, then we can genuinely appreciate and we can cooperate. And yeah, like for example, Sanatan Goswami and Raghunathas Goswami, completely different. Raghunathas Goswami, it is described, he was mostly internal. He was rarely external. He was just completely internal. But Sanatan Goswami, he was going to everyone, talking to everyone, mixing. So Sanatan Goswami did not go and tell Raghunathas Goswami, what's wrong with you? Why you always in your bhajan? Go and speak to people, give people mercy. And Raghunathas Goswami did not go and tell Sanatan Goswami, what you're doing? Why are you going and talking to everyone? What's wrong with you? So the thing is, this is everyone's service mood. And everyone is actually wired to render a particular service to Lord Chaitanya. Everyone is wired, everyone is meant. So we don't have to, like His Grace Bhavadacharya Prabhu says so nicely yesterday, we don't have to artificially change anyone. Our goal is just to reinstate them in their original position. That's all. I hope that was useful.
Yes, very nicely explained. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
So, like you said now, like unless we detach with things, we will not be able to attend perfection. But is it possible for everybody to detach? Because like with the time they are able to do anything. But is it like no, you can say this also bhakti is based on mercy. Means that mercy is given to somebody without any qualification. So, but you're actually then again putting forth the point that no, unless you detach, you're not able to get bhakti. So can you understand both?
Yeah, very nice question, bro. So the thing is that
Prabhu, can you repeat the question?
yeah, the question is that His Grace Bhavadacharya Prabhu said that you said that unless you detach, you will not be able to develop strong attachment to Krishna, bhakti. And at the same time, we also understand that mercy is given to someone who is not qualified. So how do you reconcile both of these? So yes, so like Prabhupada said that hate the disease, not the diseased. So the problem is not with the people or with the situation. The problem is with the attachment. So the difference between seeing someone, like just for example, like if suppose a mother, right? So a mother, she is teaching some children. When she takes Bhagavad Gita class, she teaches some children how to study Bhagavad Gita. So she's teaching them. right? And when she comes back home, she takes care of her child. You know? She's taking care of her child also. So the main thing is the conception, the mood. So if our mood is that I really want to enable my family members or whoever to go closer to Krishna, that is a real attachment. That is actually real detachment is engaging everything in the service of Krishna. That is a real detachment. Uh, so, um, so the more and more we focus on developing the Krishna conscious attachment, then more and more we will be able to detach ourselves from the material conception, the upadhi of being just, like just material position. So that's the important point. And yes, ultimately mercy is what we're crying for. And mercy means how we'll get mercy is we try our best. Like even though I spoke the principle, but we are trying our best to practice the principle, whatever principle it may be, whether chanting attentively, following regulative principles, etc., etc. We try our best, but ultimately we know that whatever we're doing, like this is very important. For us to get mercy, this is the most important thing, is that we should try our best, our very best, but in our heart of hearts, we should have this firm conviction that what we're doing is actually nothing. If we have that conception, that is a real meaning that I'm not qualified, really feeling that no, actually, this is the standard, but I am so far from the standard. When we have that kind of feeling in our heart, then we will get the mercy. We'll get the mercy. So, yeah, basically, the point is that yeah, I'm speaking all these principles. So the purpose is we just have to try our best. And if we try our best, whatever best we can do, then we will get the mercy. And of course, for different people, different people can do different levels. But what Krishna is seeing is, are you trying your best? That's all. That's all. And ultimately, who am I? I'm most fallen and I'm most degraded person. Probably, if you all know how fallen I am, I should be kicked out of the temple. But the point is that we just want to try our best, and we depend on the causeless mercy of the Lord. And yeah, and ultimately, like whatever principles is spoken in Bhagavatam, whatever it may be, it is the only way it can be followed completely is when the Lord becomes merciful and the Lord gives us the strength. So, so that's the point. And one thing which can really help us in our devotional service a lot is when we deal with devotees very carefully. When we are very careful in dealing with devotees, that will help us in our Shravana, will help us in our Kirtan, will help us in our Seva, help us in everything. That is many people brush off Vaishnava etiquette, that it's very artificial, very useless, but no, it's very, very helpful. It's very deep. So I would like to end here. I hope this is okay, Prabhu.
I had one comment.
Uh,
You said,
uh,
you said we should do someone to water pleasing to them. And then there is so many cases like that somebody is very sick. They want to eat something else which is pleasing to them. But I'll ask you personally.
okay.
I'll ask you personally.
Prabhu, can you repeat it?
Yeah, I'll just take it offline. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second.
No, we are in the class.
No, that's okay. I'll take it from the laptop outside. So the question is that Rohinandan Prabhu is saying that you said that we should serve in such a way to please somebody. And So I said that, so he was asking question in that line. So basically, I'll clarify to him later, but the point is that I just gave that as an example. So I said that's the way we should serve Krishna. We should, ask Krishna what Krishna, I mean, we should have that feeling. So of course, like sometimes if something is not good for someone, naturally we don't give it to them. Like if child wants, chocolates and he's sick, so we don't give it. It's natural. But the point was, you just have to. Anyone has any question or comment? Any other question or comment? Okay, so we will end here. Please forgive me if I spoke anything wrong, inappropriate. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya vacha. Paditanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo namaः. Please forgive me if I spoke anything wrong, inappropriate.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dhanyavad.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Dandvat Pranam.